Hey, y'all, what's going on? We are back. Gotham Graffiti Podcast, episode number 23.
Yep.
Glad you're here with us. We have a fun one for you this week. We've got a new segment we're going to do, and we've got Family Feud at the end, so a lot of y'all seem to like that. Stick around to that for the end. Essentially, what we're going to do is we have two new segment ideas. We're waiting to debut the second one. We'll figure out when we're going to do that later on. But this one we're calling Mount Rushmore. So for those of you that don't know what that means, basically, this is going to be in no particular order. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what this it's used a lot in wrestling. So like for me, I'll give you a perfect example. So what we're going to do is we're going to do categories. So for example, this category for this week of Mount Rushmore is your Mount Rushmore of underrated heroes.
Yep.
We could do a Mount Rushmore of comic book movies. We could do a Mount Rushmore of villains, so on and so forth. The way it would work is, like I said, to give you an example, if you were a wrestling fan, you would say, so like for me, I'd say my Mount Rushmore is Edge, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, and The Undertaker. It's like, okay, no, in no particular order, but that's my top four. That's who I'm putting up on the mountain.
Right.
So that's how we're going to do this. We'll just go back and forth. Like we said, this is not a list. It's not an order. We're just going to name them. So who do you got up first for your Mount Rushmore of underrated heroes?
Yes, so I have two DC characters and two Marvel characters for this.
Okay.
And my first Marvel character is Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
So
To preface this, with both of the Marvel characters that I have on this list, I actually don't know a whole lot about. All I know is that they're really cool. So, like, with Nightcrawler, I know...
For context, he's never been an X-Men guy, and I
Yeah.
got him to watch 97 with me, and he loved it.
And
So,
when I watched the scene with Nightcrawler, I was like, ooh.
Oh, you're talking about when he's fighting with Wolverine?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, man, that was really cool. And, like, I know that, you know, he has a really cool backstory, and, like, he's got, you know, he's a Christian, and, like, he's apparently this... super crazy combatant, not only with his hands but with swords, and like he's
a problem.
Cool
dude.
Teleportation abilities. So it's like I don't really know a bunch about him, but like aesthetically he looks
He's
really
just cool.
There's a lot of cool things that I've learned about him over the honestly just the last couple of weeks. So like I would love to see more of him just in media in general. So.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense too. With as much as you love like knight lore, he's very like. He's obviously not a knight, but he's very in the same kind of the way he fights. It's very inspired by that, so yeah.
Right.
Okay, so for me, mine is also an X-Men.
Okay.
Gambit. Y'all knew that. Y'all knew that, right? So I have always been a huge Gambit fan. He's just, for clarification, my mom's entire side of the family is from Louisiana, and so I've grown up with a lot of Cajun influence, and I always thought like how cool, when I was a kid, I always thought how cool it would be for like a villain or somebody to be from Louisiana. Because, you know, you get Belle Rev, the prison in DC's, and it's like I think it's in, I don't remember where it's at. It's somewhere in Louisiana.
Right.
But like, yeah, but like you don't get like the aesthetic of like a Cajun as a superhero, right?
Right.
And I remember when I started watching the original X-Men 97 show, I was like, Gambit's the coolest. Like, this guy's, like, when you think of, like, the definition of cool, like, that's Gambit. He's just, his suit is sick. So, like, yeah, so, like, my favorite colors are purple and pink. Now, I know how that sounds, but just chill out. You know, everybody chill out.
I didn't say anything.
Everybody chill out. Followed by baby blue, so everybody just chill out. But so obviously as a kid, looking at Gambit and his aesthetic, I was like, oh wow, this dude's sick. And then yeah, like it's really hard to read a lot of Gambit because he really only has, like, if you go on eBay, I think there's only 2 trades like that Marvel's published of just Gambit. A lot of times you have to get stuff in X-Men runs, and that's why he's on my underrated Mount Rushmore here. It's not just because I love Gambit, but like, bro, I want more Gambit stuff. Like, we were this close to getting Channing Tatum as Gambit in a Gambit movie or show a couple years ago. That ship has sailed, unfortunately. He would have been such a good Gambit. But Gambit is just like, I'm trying to think of like a DC equivalent. It would be like, you know, I'm not even going to try and do that because it's too hard. But just Gambit is so cool. I'll put it to you this way, if you watch 97 and you saw him sacrifice himself, they showed the potential Gambit has as a character and as a hero. Like how he bodies this 20-foot super intellect robot weapon and he does it with just like outsmarting this thing and being quick enough to get up to it.
Well, it was really funny. I actually watched that episode with him when he watched it for the first time. And right after we finished, he's like, they finally let Gambit do Gambit things, and then they killed him.
And they killed him doing it. So, yeah. So, for me, my first is going to be Gambit. So, what's your second?
My second is a very well-known DC character, but I feel like he doesn't get as much love, even from us, because like we've hardly talked about him on this channel, is Green Lantern.
Oh,
yeah. So,
Hal
Jordan.
Hal?
Because John Stewart, I feel like, is a pretty well.
John's become much more popular than Hal has in the last few years.
Because specifically because of the Justice League show, because there were a lot of kids that grew up with that version of Green Lantern.
He was in Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay. It wasn't Hal, stuff like that.
So, but I just feel like with Green Lantern, like because his whole thing is about willpower and like trying to overcome evil. Which I mean, in reality, that's every superhero. But like in Green Lantern, it's a very big, just principle of what makes up Hal Jordan, and like overcoming fear and being a true hero and stuff like that. And I just feel like, especially like Hal Jordan's a pretty cool guy. Like he was in the Air Force, he was a pilot. He also has a ring that can literally make anything your imagination can think of, like that. If put in the right person's hands, like if you want to do a movie or a show, like that can be actually really cool. And I think like just the aesthetic, like my favorite color is green. So like just the aesthetic of like a superhero.
All right, way to just totally emasculate my color choices.
Well, I'm sorry.
You went with like a normal dude color, green. I'm like, purple and pink over here.
You're being unique. There's something wrong with that.
I'm being unique.
Right.
No, it's okay. I do it probably. Just for context, just a little side note because y'all think this is funny. We were in a church softball league, and so we were like, dude, let's like go get some of those like Hobby Lobby tees just to like look like we have somewhat of a semblance as a team. And we get there and there's all the colors, and I was like, there was a purple one, and I was like, oh, what about purple? And he's like, dude, I'm not wearing purple. And I was like, purple's not...
Unless we're playing for the Minnesota Vikings or the Colorado Rockies, I'm not wearing purple.
And I was just like, dude, purple's not a girly color. And he was like, he said, it doesn't help. And I was like, all right. So then there was pink. And I was like, well, what about, like, we could do pink. Like, that'd be kind of tight. Like do like a breast cancer awareness kind of uniform, like aesthetic. And he was like, yeah, dude, I'm not wearing pink. And then he says, of course you would, though. And I was like, all right, dude, I'm secured myself. I can wear colorful colors.
Yeah. Well, we ended up going with pink and green so we can be Cosmo and Wanda from the Family
Guess who's wearing pink?
Yeah. Take a while to guess. But anyway, off that side note, I think Green Lantern is Hal Jordan Green Lantern is a very underrated character, and I feel like he should be in more media and get more respect because he deserves it. So,
absolutely. So my second is also a DC character. I've got Martian Manhunter.
I almost put him on my list as well.
I've got Martian Manhunter. So, I mean, he knows this as well as anybody. I've been a Martian Manhunter stan since I was a little boy. He's just like, I mean, guys, like, he could kill Superman if he really, really wanted to.
And he's green.
Like, that's something, like, if you really get into it and, like, you really get into, like, the Justice League lore, like, everyone in the Justice League acknowledges that if John went AWOL and really just let all his morals out the window, if Superman couldn't be quick enough to get his heat vision and just incinerate him, that's it. That's it. If he gets that first step, if Martian Manhunter gets the first step over Superman, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially you go into his lore, like something I love about Martian Manhunter is the fact that he's, at his core, he's a dad. He's a family man. If you really get into the lore of, him and his planet where they're invaded by the white Martians and his family's killed. Like, he wasn't a warrior.
Right.
He was just a family man who farmed and had a wife and kids, and this militant group shows up and kills everybody. He escapes. And so because he comes to Earth and he has these otherworld powers, now he's a warrior, but he wasn't a warrior on his planet. And so...
Well, I don't think people realize how tragic of a character he really is.
Insanely tragic.
Yeah, because like his entire family was killed. He didn't want to fight, and then he, got transported to Earth, and like he constantly feels like he doesn't really belong. And
feels like an alien.
He's lonely. He doesn't really have a whole lot of friends except for in the Justice League, and like he tries to have a life outside of the League and all of that. And he's actually very relatable. Like even though he's an alien from a different planet, he can actually be very relatable as a character. And I don't feel like people quite understand that because they constantly just compare him to Vision, which he's not even the same.
He's not even remotely the same thing. Also, he killed Vision, but that's another story. But and then like you get into the fact that like he's the as much as I love iterations with Cyborg in the Justice League, I prefer Martian Manhunter because he's the heart and the soul.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter is the mom, the dad, the grandparent, whatever you want to call it, figure of the team, where he's always at the watchtower. He's always there. So when something happens or something hits the fan or someone's getting like John's the one that goes and talks to them.
Right.
And like even when you watch the show when Batman's hurt and Superman's like, stay here. And they leave and Batman's doing whatever and John's like, you need to stay, you need to heal. And Batman, if you watch, what's great is Batman threatens and gets all over Superman when he says that, but when John says it, he's like, are you going to try and stop me, John? And he's like, no. But just the fact that even Bruce in his arrogance and whatever else was like, I'm not going to say that to John. Like, I'm going to do him the respect of just asking him, are you going to try and stop me? Because I need to know.
Right.
But just, I think John's super underrated. Also, when you talk about the cool factor, I mean, guys, he could shapeshift. He can become whatever he wants.
He's basically got all the powers of Superman, except he can shapeshift into a giant dragon if he wants.
He can mind read.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much about. Also, in terms of aesthetic, I think on the Justice League, Martian Manhunter has one of the coolest.
Oh yeah.
Like costumes, whatever. So
well, he doesn't wear a whole lot, but.
Well, I mean, like even if you go into like Justice League Doom when he's got like the black,
the
all black with the collar, and he's got the blue and red accents, like that's pretty sweet.
The black suit's really cool.
So so for that reason, he's my second underrated. So okay, so what were we on? Your third?
Yeah, I actually took him off the list so I could put one more character on the list. Or I was referring to Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
But my third character he's not super obscure, but Tim Drake's Robin. I feel like, if you know me, I'm a big Robin guy. I really like Dick Grayson. I just like the Robin aesthetic in general. My favorite suit of the Robins is actually Tim Drake's suit with the all red and the black and yellow. But I actually, when I was a kid, there was a very brief time where I was actually more of a fan of Tim Drake than I was of Dick Grayson. Very, very brief.
I remember.
It was there. I feel like Tim Drake gets overlooked a lot because he's essentially the middle child of all the Robins. Because you've got the firstborn, which is Dick Grayson. You've got the angsty younger brother, so to speak, in Red Hood, and then you've got the youngest, which is Damian Wayne, and is the son of Batman, like biologically.
Well, I think it's also because Tim Drake never becomes a Nightwing or a Red Hood. He just becomes Red Robin.
Yeah, he becomes Red Robin. But like, Batman has even said it before. Like, of all the Robins, he's probably the most. First of all, he's probably the smartest, and he's the one that understands detective work. Of all the Robins, he's probably the one that does it the best. Also, he's the only one that I'm aware of who actually has a functioning family. Like, because the other three Robins, they at least have one parent. He's got both of them, and they're very loving, and they understand. He's not like abused or anything. Well,
I mean, the only other Robin with a parent's Damian, but it's like
that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got a mom that's like an assassin.
Yeah.
So like, and the other two Robins don't even have parents at all. So, but anyway, I feel like Tim Drake is a very underrated Robin as it is, and just an underrated character in general, and I would really like to see him in more Batman projects going forward. I have a feeling they're probably not going to put him in a movie, but maybe it's we get a video game where he's the main Robin and not just like in Arkham where you get one scene with him.
I think to your point, I always thought Tim Drake was lame. Like, I always thought Tim Drake was lame. Like, my Robin order always went Jason, Dick, Damian, Tim. I just kind of always thought Tim was boring. And then I played the Arkham games and then you're like, oh, that's what Tim can be.
Right.
That's what Tim can. It's like you hadn't seen this like matured, kind of beefed out like brawler Tim Drake where you're like,
because he's also he's not the best Robin at fighting, but he's up there.
He's up there, yeah. He's probably third, but but all that being said, when you're playing through the Arkham trilogy and you're like, oh,
Right.
Oh, okay, so this is what can be done with Tim. So yeah, I think that's a great pick.
Okay, what about you? What's your...
My third is Spawn.
I knew it.
Spawn. So I picked Spawn. Now, granted, I know this is kind of subjective, right? Because for the fans of Spawn like myself, you'd be like, well, he's not underrated.
Right.
But
in general media...
though, like, I feel like... We talked about this a couple episodes back. I don't remember when it was. I feel like for the way fandom is right now in time, I feel like Spawn would print money. I feel like he would print money. Like, if you were to do like a... Like, just imagine the aesthetic of Matt Reeves' Batman. And you get a writer like M. Night Shyamalan. And you make it Spawn. Dude, that's just, it's too good. For me, Spawn is just, he's in my top 10 favorite comic book characters ever. I love Spawn. I love, you want to talk about like a tragic backstory and a tortured man. Like his best friend in the military turns on him, has him killed. He goes to hell, makes a deal with the devil to do his bidding if he lets him back. As soon as he gets back, he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Then he goes to his wife to find out that his wife has been remarried with someone he worked with and had a kid with. Like, he got a 4-time whammy in the course of like a very short amount of time period. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to take my vengeance out on everyone now. And it's one of the reasons I love Spawn is because you almost get to see aspects of Batman and Spawn and that, like, this is what Batman would have done if he was that angry and that morally kind of ambiguous. You get to see Spawn cross, like, especially if you watch the 90s show, something they do a great job of. And this is where I think Spawn does a great job as a character, and I think the right writer could do something great. Especially, like, I think an animated movie with Spawn right now would be great. Like an hour and 40-minute animated Spawn movie. Something that they do a great job of is because Spawn is such a morally ambiguous person, but because 9 times out of 10 he's what's the saying? The ends. What is it? The
ends justify the means.
His ends justify the means of how he does things. 9 times out of 10, and Todd McFarlane's so good at just writing these grimy, just disgusting human beings that are pitted against Spawn. Where you're like. Where if it was a Batman story, you're like, you have to be better, Bruce, right? As you're reading it or watching it, you have to be better. When it's Spawn, when it's Al, you're like, oh, I cannot wait for him to find this guy. And then when he does, bro, he's mutilating whoever it is. And one of my favorite things about Spawn is he's not quiet when he's killing somebody. He's like talking to him. He's like, I'm letting you know why I did this, who you did this to, and now I'm going to use my chain to rip your arm out of its socket and let you lay here. He's just vile. In the best ways, though, as you want to read as a dark superhero. Right. So, by the way, that being said, I don't think Spawn necessarily is a live-action guy. I don't know if there's a massive market for a live-action Spawn movie, but like I said, I think...
Well, wasn't there one?
There were 2 in the 90s. Yeah. They just weren't received great.
Right.
So I just think, especially with the re-emergence of the characters like Blade, so there's obviously a market for this kind of fandom. So I think whether it be an animated movie, a bigger, more taken seriously, long drawn-out comic book run that ends in Omni, something like that, I just want to get more Spawn content. So.
Okay. I can agree with
who's
that.
Your last?
Funny enough, it's Blade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, same thing with Nightcrawler. I really don't know a whole lot about Blade. All I know is that he's a vampire hunter, and I know...
He's so cool.
Yeah, and I know that he had like 3 movies in the 90s, and like he's kind of... Because, you know, he's going to have a video game here soon, and there's talks of him possibly coming into the MCU. I don't really know if that's stagnated or not at all. But, like, I think, to your point about Spawn, I feel like right now there's... Because you know, in the 2000s, it was like, we need dark, gritty superhero movies. And then as we moved into the 2010s, like later in the 2010s, we got, okay, we need smiley, happy, goofy, colorful superhero movies. And we got a lot of those. And
we got a lot of those. And then now it's kind of like... Okay, that's kind of wearing off. We kind of need to go back to the more dark, more gritty, more grounded superhero. Which is why don't you love this? We're going to just, as Snyder Boys, we're going to say this really quick.
Right.
Isn't it funny how in 2016, when Batman vs. Superman came out, everyone hated it, and everyone was talking about how good the Marvel projects were.
Right.
And now here we are 7 to 8 years later, and everyone's like, well, we may have been a little bit too rushed to make some of those decisions. It's like, oh, really? Really? So anyway, continue.
Well, that's what we've always said is that, like,
DC ages like wine. Marvel ages like beer.
Or milk.
Or milk. Marvel's great right at the moment. DC's like maybe right when you drink it's a little bitter, but you give
it some time.
You give it some time, and by a little while later, you're like, oh, that's actually a really good movie. Right.
But anyway, back to my point. I feel like we need more of those types of superheroes. We need because I actually, ironically enough, it's not one of my favorite Batman movies, but it's a really good one. Is Batman versus Dracula. I really like the aesthetic.
Dude, Batman vs. Dracula is great.
It's a great movie. I love the aesthetic of that movie, and so like I feel like if we were to do, maybe if it's a live action movie, but like if you're doing an animated movie with like just with Blade versus Dracula, I feel like that would be.
Oh, you're saying in that kind of concept?
In that kind of context, that would be. I would watch.
Dude, Blade's so cool. Yeah. I need to show you the first Blade. The second and the third one are.
I've heard the sequels are not great.
The sequels they're not bad, they're just not great, but that first Blade's actually really good.
Yeah. I've seen the rave scene. I've seen that.
Yeah. Dude, the first Blade movie's great.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your final character?
Okay, so my final character is Red Hood, baby. Jason Todd. So,
yes.
There have been times in my life, y'all know how much I love the character of Batman. There have been times in my life where I've been more of a fan of Red Hood than I have Batman. Just on a personal level, since I was young, I've always really been able to relate to Jason Todd. And it's, that's gotten me through some things and growing up, just being able to dive into a character that I relate so much to on a personal level.
Right.
But the main reason I put him here is I don't know the context, but if you're reading the current Batman run, they killed Jason Todd off again. And it's just like, to me, Jason Todd is like, one thing I'm really not a fan of that DC's been doing the last X amount of time is it's like they know how marketable he is and they know how much people love him, but they don't know
what to do with him.
They don't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, it's impactful if Jason dies. Let's do that for the third time. Or it's like they put him in something and it's like, we need a cool-looking hero who's going to go beat the brakes off somebody with just their hands. It's like, okay, go send Jason. And it's just like the last time that I think Jason Todd really felt important and really felt like, oh, this is being done well was Red Hood and the Outlaws. And, that was New 52, so that's been done for a while. Right when they came out of that, it wasn't bad. I actually did a read of the week a couple episodes back of the very first trade that came out of the New 52 for Red Hood that was done well.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not been forever. It's just been, the reason I say he's underrated is I feel that Red Hood could be on the same level of Nightwing in terms of importance to the canon of Batman, and I just feel like he's not, because he's not as. Dick's a better leader. Dick is the leader of the Teen Titans. He's, more people probably have an allegiance to Nightwing than they do Red Hood. Red Hood's a little bit more of a niche audience. But I just feel like, especially if you play Gotham Knights, dude, I've played all four, and I say this unbiasedly. He's the best one in the game. It's like if you give him time to really be flushed out and really put the right writers, which obviously they got Scott Snyder. But, like, if you get the right writers, it's just, he's a great character. And so what I want to see is, I'm not talking animated movies. I'm not talking live-action movies. I just want to see the writers at DC get back to the Red Hood and Outlaws kind of Red Hood. Get back to Red Hood with a purpose, an idea, a mission in mind to write with him. Or stop using him and take a break for a few years. Stop using Red Hood. Take a 2 or 3 year break where you're not using him. Put Jason to bed for a little bit, and then bring him back once there's been some time to rest and you've got an idea. But let's not keep ruining the aura of Jason Todd and Red Hood. So, yeah, that's why he is fourth on my Mount Rushmore. So, okay, all right, y'all, we're going to go straight into Read of the Week. Okay, so for this week's Read of the Week, we have Nightwing, The Gray Sun Legacy.
Yeah.
So pick this one because me and my cousin here watched Batman vs. Robin last night. After doing the DCAU rankings, we were like, dude, let's watch Batman vs. Robin again.
Yeah.
And it's just
I hadn't
so
seen
good.
it in like 2 years.
It's
so
just
I
so
figured,
good.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorite plot points of the entire Court of Owls lore, is the fact that Dick's grandfather was a Talon. I love that. And with this, you see a lot of that come to head. So this is coming off, Dick's lost some memory. He's no longer Nightwing. He's still fighting crime, but he's not in the Nightwing suit. What's cool about this is he's got his own kind of sidekicks. They're called the Nightwings, and they're kind of like his patrol squad, and they, go and do things for him. And this is what's great about this is a Nightwing story. This isn't a Nightwing, and then they're like halfway through the book, all right, here comes Batman.
Right.
It's like, no, this is Nightwing. You're seeing Nightwing deal with the fact that his bloodline is directly tied to the Court of Owls. You're seeing that his grandfather's still alive and still trying to lure Dick to come over to the court and trying to become a Talon. Because, I mean, could you imagine if Dick Grayson was a Talon, what he could do? Also, I love this because it's thick. They don't try and cut this up or anything. This is a pretty hefty book. The art's great. It's one thing I love about this art is it's like they took the New 52 art and just refined it a little bit. Like they stayed true to what it was, but they didn't copy and paste it, which is great. The cover art's great also. Like, I mean, yeah, you get to see just, it's just one of those, like, it's not as high, what I love about this is it's not as high scale Court of Owls.
Right.
Like, it's not like, and when you're reading the New 52 and they're trying to kill Batman and take over his hedge funds and they're trying to take over the city. This is just like, this is a personal story between Dick Grayson tied to the Court of Owls with his grandfather, who was a marksman Talon at the time. And you just get to explore that, and you get to see how it affects Dick and see how it affects him while he's trying to regain his memory and remember who he is, and having to deal with this while he's having Talons and the Court of Owls attack him and go after him, and he's having to, it's cool to see Dick be put in a very Bruce situation,
right,
where he's not just comedy relief, or it's not just some small scale story. It's like, no, like they're giving Dick some serious stuff here, and he's got to deal with it. So yeah, if you're a Nightwing fan, if you like the Court of Owls, if you want something different, you want something that is Nightwing but is really trying to pay respect to the character, this is one of those. I've loved this thing for years.
Yeah, and I can personally say, as a Nightwing fan, this was one of the first Nightwing books that, like, the thicker Nightwing books that I got. And I had always liked Nightwing as a kid, but like this, like, helped me fall in love with the character all over again. It's just a very personal story with Dick Grayson and the Court of Owls, and it's just great.
It's a great story, guys. So go pick this. Right now, I bought this thing years ago, and it was trading for $20 then, so I'm sure it's cheaper, or depending. I don't know if they're still in print. Like, it always depends on the number of these things. So this thing could be $60 now. I don't know. But go pick this one up, and you will not regret it. That is this week's Read of the Week. Okay, so we are returning for our monthly segment of Family Feud. What is the current record?
I believe it's 4-1.
I think it's 4-1 too.
I think it is, yeah.
I thought
it's either 4-1 or
3-1.
Yeah.
One of the two. He'll put it up.
I'll go back and figure it out.
So, yeah. All right. So we've got, per usual, 5 categories, 3 questions. You get 2 hints, and as always, if a question or an answer is kind of iffy and the other person should have gotten it, you get half points for whatever it was.
Yes.
So, okay. So what is your first category?
My first category is Flash villains.
Okay.
So, for 100 points, first question. This Flash rogue worked for a toy factory before becoming a villain. Think about the weapons that they use.
It's got to be the Trickster.
It was actually Captain Boomerang.
The Trickster also has worked at a toy factory.
Okay, well, I'll give you half points.
Okay. I was like, I know I'm not losing my mind right now. I just read something about that.
Oh, I completely forgot about the Trickster. I looked up like Captain Boomerang lore, and like that was one
Yeah.
of the,
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, because I remember reading a.
he
book.
worked at a toy factory that made boomerangs.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, because I've read a book where they talk about how like the new. Like,
Did
the
he work
Wally-
at like a joke store or something?
It was like one of those things, and like that's how he fell in love with the original Trickster, and so then he goes to try and find the original Trickster.
I gotcha.
Okay, sorry, half points on that one.
Yeah, half points.
Okay.
All right, for 200 points. This one might be slightly unfair, but we'll see. This is the.
He's already starting, guys. He's already starting.
This is the first meta-human that in the CW The Flash show. This is the first non-meta-human that the Flash faced in the CW show.
Shoot, dude, I did not watch The Flash.
Think of the rogues that don't typically have powers.
Well, I'll just go through Flash villains, and then you'll have to give me a minute on this because I'm gonna have to go through. So, it's not Zoom, it's not the Tortoise, it's not. I'm trying to think of the rogues. Does anybody have? No, because they're all powered by weapons.
Well, like he doesn't have Like he doesn't have metahuman powers. He might have a weapon.
That's what I'm saying. Is like all the people in the rogues aren't metahumans. They just have powers through weapons.
Right, but he was the first one that he faced in the show. He's a pretty popular Flash villain, I'll tell you that.
Was he a cameo of a famous actor?
I don't know if that actor was famous at the time or not.
So this is first season.
I think so, yes. Either first or second.
Okay, the reason I asked that because I remember the Trickster was played by Mark Hamill in the show. Yes. So it's not the Trickster.
No, it's not the Trickster.
It's not Captain Cold because Captain Cold doesn't show up until later. I can't remember. Answer me this because I literally have not watched The Flash. Is Heatwave in the show at all?
Yes.
He is?
He is. He doesn't show up till much later, though.
Okay. So it's not Trickster, it's not Heatwave. Or I'm sorry, it's not Weather Wizard. Because he's got metahuman powers. He's tapped into the weather.
Yeah, but that's with technology, right? He uses technology.
No, in the updated comic books, Weather Wizard's tapped in through his
Well, I know, but
biomes.
in the show.
Oh, dude, like I said, I haven't watched The Flash, so I mean, maybe. I'm between...
Just take a wild guess at one of the most popular Flash villains. Who doesn't have powers. I guarantee you'll get it right more than likely.
I'm between Captain Cold and the Weather Wizard. Because also...
Just pick one. One of those two, just pick one of them.
Hang on, let me really think. Because I gotta rationalize.
You got a 50-50 shot.
This is good for the people. Because Captain Cold, because I'm thinking in terms of CW, because I watched Arrow.
Right.
I'm thinking they wouldn't have used his Joker in the first season. They wouldn't have used his first Joker. But the Trickster's very like, for a first season to make the Weather Wizard. To make the Weather Wizard look good in the first season would have been very difficult. I'm going to go with my gut, man. Is it Captain Cold?
It is Captain Cold.
Oh, let's go.
I had to help you out on that one because I forgot you didn't watch The Flash at all.
Yeah.
Okay, for 300
More of a
points.
Wally West guy.
Yes. For 300 points, this is not really a rogue. He's a Flash villain.
You're saying he's not in the Rogues.
He's not in the Rogues, yes. This Flash villain considers himself judge, jury, and executioner.
Oh man, what's his name?
Do you know who it is? You just can't remember.
Yes,
his name?
dude. I know exactly who it is.
What does he look like?
I mean, it depends on the iteration. He's got two different suits.
What does he mainly look like when you think of this person?
He's got like it's like a black suit, and he's got like a hood coat.
Okay.
Just
give me a name.
Dude, I don't know. That's so obscure. Hang on, let me think. Judge, jury, and executioner. Can you tell me if he's a Barry Allen or a Wally West Flash villain?
I'm pretty sure he's a Barry Allen.
I could be
wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Barry Allen.
I was gonna say because if it was Wally West, I probably would have known that off the top of my head.
Or is it Wally West? I honestly, it might.
Shoot,
he's a newer Flash villain. I'll give you that.
Oh wait! He's the black guy that runs the prison and then becomes a villain after.
the black guy who becomes
in the yeah. He's the warden of the prison, and then they find out that he's cruelly punishing the inmates and then he's like, I'm the judge. He specifically says, I'm the judge, jury, and executioner around here. He gets expelled from the prison and he becomes a villain.
What's his villain name?
I don't know. He's the black warden at the prison.
Does he have powers?
Yes.
What are his powers?
Oh my gosh. His eyes light up orange and oh man.
I think you might be confusing him for somebody else.
What's the answer?
It's Godspeed.
No, that's not who I was thinking of.
Okay, yeah. Like that line that you were saying, that's what he said right before he became Godspeed. Like that was specifically what he said.
That's lazy writing then. Dang, dude.
I mean, I could be wrong. I think you might be confusing the two.
Here, hang on. We're going to cut. Okay, we're back. We're back. Do you decide that's your discretion? Because that is a mix-up.
I don't know, because does he actually say that line in the comics? Because, like, Godspeed said the same thing. So, like, I don't know.
Was that in the show?
I don't know. It could have been. But, like when I looked up, like, Godspeed trivia, like, right before he became Godspeed, he's like, I'm the judge, jury, and executioner. I'm better than the Flash. That's what he said.
Well, he doesn't say that at the end. But, yeah, no, it's like because they specifically catch him.
Because he's trying to be, like, it's almost kind of think Zoom, like he's trying to become a better version of the Flash, but he's taking things too far. Right. Like, Zoom is actually a bad guy. Godspeed literally thinks he's a hero.
So a perfect way I can put this is like when Pied Piper is in prison, he like sucks all the oxygen out of his cell so he can't activate. He can barely breathe. And the Flash like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm the judge, jury, and executioner around here. You don't.
Okay, I'll give you half points because
half points.
Yeah, I'll give you half points.
Because that's also like a super obscure like.
Right.
So 2 half points, 1. Okay, so my first. We're going with a classic, Batman the Animated Series.
Okay.
Wanted to start off with a fun one.
Okay. What are your questions?
Okay. For 100 points. Which episode was originally perceived bad, ended up becoming a fan favorite? It is a one-off, and it is in the 3rd season. It's one of the last episodes in the 3rd season.
Last episode of the 3rd season.
It was an original villain.
Original villain. I'm trying to remember what was happening though, because 3rd season was right before they made
the New Adventures.
Yeah.
So this is when Robin's in it. That's a hint. This is when Robin's in the episodes.
It's an original villain. Shoot.
Here's another hint. In the new line of figures they have at Target, you can buy this figure.
I cannot remember if this was in the 4th or the 3rd season.
It's not New Adventures.
I know, but I can't remember the episode I'm thinking about. I can't remember if it was in the New Adventures.
Tell me which episode you're thinking of, and I'll tell you if you're on the right track.
It's the one with the judge.
You mean Two-Face?
No, he's like a. Was it Two-Face that ended up being like that judge who was kind
That's the last episode of the series. So yeah, that's not it.
The 4th season? Okay, yeah, that's not it then.
Think like the end of the 3rd season where we were getting like one-offs. This is a very specific one-off. It takes place in a certain location.
It's not the Demon Quest, is it? Mm-mm. Yeah, dude, I have no clue.
Would you like to use one of your hints or no?
No, I'm not going to use one of my hints.
Lockdown.
Oh, okay.
Lockdown.
Was that with
or lock up?
Lock Up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. I remember the episode now that you say that, but I wouldn't have remembered that off the top of my head.
Okay. So for 200 points, which villain only got 3 episodes and he didn't get any more because the writers were having too hard of a time to write for him? It became too difficult to write for him.
This is including all 4 seasons, right?
Yes.
Okay.
After his 3rd episode, he did not get another one.
I'm thinking it might be Bane, but
Bane only has 1.
Oh, he was in another one.
So when I mean episodes, I mean like the episode was around this villain.
Okay. Was it Clayface?
It is not Clayface. It is the Riddler.
Really? I thought he had more than 3.
He had 3. He had If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Riddler's Reform, and then I can't remember the name of it, but the one where he's got the VR machine.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And then they couldn't. The reason they quit writing for him was because they couldn't think of any more riddles.
Right.
And so they stopped writing for the Riddler.
Like, yeah.
That's it.
That was before Google, where you could just Google a bunch of riddles if you needed to.
So for 300 points, this should be easy because you should know this.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
What are my top 3 favorite episodes from Batman the Animated Series?
I know one of them's Christmas with the Joker.
Correct. You should know the other 2, bro. This is easy. I gave you a give me for 300.
I feel like the laughing fish is in there.
Okay, that's correct. So two.
Is it Bane?
I'll give you one more chance. It's not Bane. It's in the first season.
Oh, it's
Really? Who's other than the
it's
Joker?
the Two-Face.
Correct.
The Two-Face 2-part. Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's good. Thank you for that. Give me. I appreciate.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, the first 2, like, they were fair, but I was like,
Right.
he might not know them.
They were a little too niche for me.
So
to know.
I'll
Yeah.
give you a give me for the 300.
All right. So for our next category, this is a Star Wars category. This is Clone Troopers. So I am going to give you a question, and you have to name the clone trooper that I'm referring to.
Okay.
So for 100 points, this clone trooper has a handprint on his chest plate.
Is it a blood handprint?
Yes. Well, it's blood of something. Yes.
Can you tell me? This isn't my answer. Is it either Fives or Echo? Is it one of the 2?
Potentially. Yes.
It's one of the 2. Yeah. Oh man, that's literally a 50-50.
Go with your gut.
It's Echo, right?
It is.
Echo.
It is
yeah.
Echo.
Okay.
All right, so I'll help you out with this question a little bit because the wording might be strange. So this clone was the 3rd clone, according to canon, to have his inhibitor chip removed. So the first one
was Rex, right?
Yes, it was Rex. It was Captain Rex. All right, so for 300 points, this Coruscant Guard commander is known for his heroic last stand.
Oh, is this like 03 Clone Wars?
No.
Oh. I thought you were talking about where he's the clip everybody uses where he's mowing people down with the turret and then he. You know what I'm talking about?
That's 08 Clone Wars. That's not 03.
No, it's not. We just watched it. The Coruscant Guard when.
That's Fordo. He's not part of the Coruscant Guard. He just has red markings.
Oh. Jeez, I don't know how I'm gonna get this. I don't know any of the Coruscant Guard clones by name.
There's like 2 prominent ones. The rest of them, I don't know.
Oh, jeez, man.
Do you want to use a hint or do you want to
No, I'll save a hint. I'll
Okay.
save my hints. I'll just, go ahead. I'm not going to get it. Go ahead.
Commander Thorne.
Yeah, I wasn't going to guess that.
Okay,
But yeah.
but do you remember that episode?
I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, so you got, 300 on that? So. All right. What's your next category?
My next category, guess the villain.
Okay.
So for 100 points, which villain has killed nearly killed members of this hero's family on more than one occasion? I'll give you a hint. It's a DC villain.
I would assume the Joker.
It's Bane.
Yeah, but I feel like the Joker's done that as well.
I'll
right?
give you half points.
Yeah,
I'll give you half
Joker's
points.
definitely, like, he killed Jason Todd. He's cut off the faces of a bunch of.
Well, no, remember he didn't actually end up doing it. It was all a ruse.
Oh, that is true.
I'll give you half points. Okay. So for 200 points, this Marvel villain has a direct ripoff. Like the villain, like he has a villain that is a copy and paste of him, but it's a ripoff.
DC.
This is Marvel.
No, I know, but like there's a ripoff of him in DC.
No. There's a ripoff of him in Marvel. Like within the same canon, like there's a villain who takes all his stuff and does the exact same thing. Just he just has a different name. He's a very popular villain. I can't tell you the hero because it'll give it away, but
shoot. I might have to use a hint on this one.
You gonna use a hint?
Maybe. Hold on.
Tell me if you do or not.
So he's a Marvel villain that has another Marvel villain that's basically the same person.
It basically is the same person, but just has a different name.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my hand.
Okay. He uses the same tech and weapons as the original.
As the hero?
No, as the villain. So this rip-off villain uses the exact same tech, gadgets, weaponry as the guy he's copying. Like the exact same. It's literally the exact same thing.
Shoot. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. Is it Cable?
It's Hobgoblin.
Oh, dadgummit. Yeah.
Hobgoblin, yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to get that one.
I didn't know. I was not even thinking of that.
Does that make sense, though, now?
I was thinking, like, the girl Deadpool is what I was thinking.
No. That's why when I said tech, I was like, oh, he should get, like, he uses the same glider bombs.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 300 points, this DC villain is from a different country than the United States.
Okay.
And he uses a very specific kind of weapon.
He's a villain or a hero?
He's a villain, and he's from a different country than the...
Manchester Black?
It is not Manchester. That was quick, so I'll let you think about it for a minute. He's from a different country. And you know he's from a different country. Like, he talks like it.
Oh, man. So he's a villain from a different country in DC that has a very specific weapon.
It's a very... like, no one else uses it. It's a very specific weapon. He's got a bunch of them at one time, too.
Shoot, dude. I'm trying to go through villains in my head.
He is a very prominent villain for this hero.
Batman, Flash.
I'll give you one more hint. His hero is in the Justice League.
Well, I figured. I'm trying to go through it because, I mean, he'd have to be a Batman villain.
He is not a Batman villain. He is not a Batman villain.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. He is used in not just his hero stories. So he's also very popular in a different comic run. He's in a group.
He's in a group?
He's in a group. He's like one of the most popular.
And he's not a Batman villain.
He's one of the most popular villains in this group, and he's not a Batman villain.
I don't know.
Captain Boomerang.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Captain Boomerang.
That makes sense.
Okay. You a little upset you didn't get those last two?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. Okay. Your next category is Wolverine lore.
Oh.
For 100 points, this is kind of a gimme. Which comic did Wolverine debut in? Like, whose comic was it?
Was it a group or a hero?
It was a hero.
It's Hulk, right?
Yep, it's the Incredible Hulk. All right, for 200 points. Which team was Wolverine not a member of? Well, hold on. I want to give you...
Oh, okay. I was like, a bunch?
Okay, so Avengers, the X-Force, or the Fantastic Four, or he's a member of all of them.
So I'm either choosing which one he wasn't a part of, or I'm saying he's been a part of all of them at a point in time.
Correct.
I do not read any Avengers, so that's difficult. What are we on your third category?
Second. It's really just either he was a part of...
Well, I'm
you
trying
have
to
choose
think.
one, or it's all of them.
You said X-Force...
Fantastic Four to the Avengers.
Because I know he's been a part of X-Force.
Yes.
The Fantastic Four's hanging me up. I'm going to say yes, he's been a part of all of them at a point in time.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Alrighty, this is actually an Old Man Logan question.
Oh.
Which villain tricked Logan into killing the X-Men?
Ooh. Was it? Is he in X-Men 97?
No. I'll give you a hint, he's not a typical...
X-Men villain?
Yes, he's not an X-Men villain.
I'm trying to think of Marvel villains that have, like, mind capabilities. Was he a mutant?
No.
I'm going to throw a shot in the dark. Dr. Doom?
It was Mysterio.
Mysterio, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was Mysterio. He created an illusion that all the X-Men were villains, and he killed all the X-Men, and then he got rid of the illusion.
Gosh, I love that Wolverine can kill all the X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, okay, yeah, I wasn't going to guess that. Okay. All right, so my third category is Batman Michael Keaton trivia.
Okay.
All right. So for 100 points, which box office hit did it beat in 1989 for the #1 spot of the year?
Oh no.
I'll give you a hint. It is from one of your like all-time favorite franchise movies ever.
In 1989.
In 1989, I will tell you, it's obviously not Star Wars.
Right.
It's one of your favorite franchises ever that's not superheroes.
Is it Back to the Future?
I'll give you one more guess. It's not Back to the Future.
I can't think of anything else that came out in that era.
Dude, it is like it's one of your bread and butters. I thought this one would be a gimme.
Is it Superman?
It is Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's right, because... Yeah, that's right.
Indiana
that's right.
Jones.
'Cause, yeah, it was the Last Crusade that came out in 1989. Dude, I forgot about that. I'm having trouble today, dude. Like
Rough day?
Questions I should know. I just can't think right now. I don't know why.
Okay, so for 200 points, which line of dialogue from the very first movie heavily influenced Batman the Animated Series?
Heavily influenced Batman the Animated Series.
It's a Batman to Batman line, and it happens in the first 10 minutes.
What do you mean it's a Batman to Batman line?
Like, I mean, Keaton says this. Excuse me. He's the first Batman to ever say this line, and then they used it and added on to it in the animated series. It's like
I'm Batman?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
correct. So it's the
Is it where he's
I am
holding him
vengeance, I am the night. They took that from that.
That's when you said you expanded on it. That's when I was like, oh, it has to be that one.
Okay. All right. This is like pop culture knowledge, so I figured this should be a good one.
Okay.
What shoes does Batman wear?
They're Nikes.
Okay, yes, but what shoes does Batman wear in Batman Returns that they make into boots? It is Nike, yes.
I was gonna say, I know it's a Nike sneaker. I don't know what type.
No. I'm not asking you the type of shoe. It is a collaboration with another brand. It's a Nike and shoe.
Oh.
And it's a think when you think of sneakers, like these are sneakers that go for thousands of dollars. Think like this era of...
I did not know it was a collaboration. I just knew they were Nikes.
Regardless, I'll give you half points if you don't
Okay.
get but I'll give you full if you can get the...
Because I knew they were Nike sneakers that they turned into boots.
So they're Nike sneakers. When you think of sneaker, what is the biggest sneaker brand in the world that sells for thousands of dollars a shoe? People line up out stores to buy these things.
Jordans?
Correct.
Okay.
It was a pair of, I think it was Jordan 5s.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say Skechers, and then when you said thousands of dollars, I was like,
Skechers?
Oh. Well, because they're like, they sell sneakers to every type of people. Is what
I
I'm
guess
saying.
that's true, yeah. Okay.
They've got kids, they've got...
Yeah, so yeah,
old
it was
people.
a pair of like Jordan 5s or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm glad you said that. I wouldn't have guessed the
Yeah.
Jordans. Okay. Your next category is the Bat family.
Okay.
So this is anybody... They could be direct sidekicks to him, or they could be related to him. Like, just think that kind of...
Okay.
Alrighty, so for 100 points, this is where it's a little weird, so if you need a little help, I get it. So this character never really grew out of their initial mantle of what they started as.
What do you mean by grew out of?
So, like, for example, Dick Grayson was Robin, then became Nightwing.
Okay.
So this person never really grew out of... I think they did eventually, or there's certain iterations where they did, but most of the time he doesn't.
Is this a Robin?
Yes.
So it's either Damian or Tim. I
might have to give you half points on this one, but we'll see.
Do you count... Excuse me. When you're talking about Damian, do you count him growing out of it when he leaves Gotham to go back and rule the League of Assassins? Does that count?
Kind of, yes.
Then it'd have to be Tim.
Yes, because
Okay.
he became Red Robin.
Yes, it'd have to be Tim.
Okay. For 200 points, this former Robin led a team that is not the Titans. It's pretty well known.
Oh, Jason Todd.
Yeah, in the Outlaws.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jason Todd.
Alrighty, for 300 points, who's the daughter of Batman and Catwoman?
Huntress.
What's her name, though?
Oh, come on, dude.
I'll give you that.
Oh.
I was joking. I'll give you that.
Okay. All right. So my fourth category is MCU.
Okay.
Mixing it up a little bit. For 100 points, who cut off Thanos' head?
Thor.
Correct. Okay. In Avengers Endgame, what stone does Natasha sacrifice herself for?
Soul Stone.
Correct. For 300 points, the events of The events of which film are referenced when Red Skull discovers the Tesseract? This is not a Marvel film. It is a pop culture. They make a specific line. It's one of your favorite movies of all time.
I'm sure it is, because apparently that's what we talk about today, but...
It's one of your favorite movies of all time. They make a direct line.
So Red Skull in Infinity War makes a reference
No.
to...
This is when in First Avenger, when he finds the Tesseract, when he's in that museum, he makes a direct reference line to this movie. It's a pop... There's been 5 of them. Don't overthink it, dude. Do not overthink it.
I can't even remember the line is the problem. I'm trying to go through that scene.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's... What movie franchise does a character hunt down certain artifacts?
Oh, Indiana Jones?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay.
When do they make a reference to that?
It's when he finds it. I don't remember what the line is, but he says, because I don't know Indiana Jones. He says something.
Is it like a line that's used in
It's
the
a
movie?
line that's used in Indiana Jones when he finds something.
I'll have to look it up later. Oh, because I remember when we rewatched that, I wonder if I caught that and said
You
something.
did. That's why I was like, don't overthink it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so your fourth category.
All right, my fourth category is the Justice League DCAU show. So this is both the first 2 seasons and Unlimited.
Okay.
All right, so...
Ooh, I don't know Unlimited as well.
For 100 points, which team in the series could not go by their more popular name?
Suicide Squad.
Correct. For 200 points, what was excluded from the show to avoid being too much like Super Friends?
Is this all together, all 4 seasons, or one of the 2?
I'm pretty sure they're not in any of the seasons.
The Wonder Twins?
Not really, no. I'll give you another guess because that's kind of a weird...
I'm trying to think who's in the Super Friends show, because the Wonder Twins...
Think more, not just characters, but like broader terms.
Is this a location?
No.
Well, define what you mean by broader terms.
Like categories of certain type of people.
So like a hero type?
Yes.
Oh, geez, man. Gosh, I haven't seen Super Friends since I was 9 years old. I don't know.
They weren't allowed to use sidekicks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nightwing made like a very brief cameo, but they weren't allowed to use.
We weren't allowed to use
sidekicks.
sidekicks.
Yeah. All right, so for 300 points, which Justice League member were the writers not sure who the identity was going to be, but finally made a choice in a very specific episode?
Is this unlimited?
No.
Hot Girl.
No, it was actually the Flash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't know if he was going to be Barry Allen or Wally West, and then remember whenever they all take off their masks, they decided to make him Wally West.
The reason I pick Hot Girl is because in the last, like, they never mention which Thanagarian she is.
Right.
And then they finally, like, decide who she's going to be, and she takes her helmet off to John, and she says who her name is.
I don't know if I should give you half points or not, because, like, the producer specifically mentioned the Flash. They never talk about Hot Girl when they said that.
You're judge here.
Okay.
Your judge. I mean,
you've already gotten a lot of them. I might.
You'll just have to.
I might just
for the fans though. That was a fair answer.
That was. But I'm saying whenever, because I went and looked up like facts about the JLA. Like that's what they specifically mentioned was the Flash. They never said anything about Hot Girl. So
all right.
That's why I'm saying you got that one wrong.
So my final category.
Okay.
Superhero video games.
Okay.
For 100 points, which Spider-Man video game used all the design of the Tobey Maguire movie but was not in that universe or canon? It was one we played it all the time. You don't have to get the title. If you can tell me what the game was about, I'll give it to you.
Well, because I know that there were a lot of Spider-Man tie-ins to the game.
So there's only one where they use for Venom, Hobgoblin, Green Goblin.
I would imagine. Is it the one? I don't remember the title, but it's like it's kind of got a cartoony art style, but you can tell it's still Sam Raimi, and like I know Iron Fist is in it, and like all of his villains are in it. I don't remember the name of it though.
Friend or foe?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give it to you because you said Iron Fist, so that was a specific. I'll give you that.
Because I remember going over to your house and playing that game. I just couldn't remember the name.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Second category. This character had 2 games in the 90s, and he is not DC or Marvel. He had 2 video games.
2 video games.
And he's not DC or Marvel. He's an independent property.
I'm between 2 characters right now.
Who are your 2 characters?
Spawn and Hellboy.
One of those is right.
Okay. This is in the 90s. I'm gonna go with Hellboy.
It was Spawn.
Dadgummit.
Spawn had 2 games in the 90s.
Dang it.
You've yet to use your second hint. You should have used your second hint there. Okay.
I know I'm probably not gonna win this one anyway.
Having an off day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which most of them are anyway. But.
For 300 points, what is the highest rated Batman video game that is not an Arkham Trilogy or Arkham Origins game? It's not one that came out in the 90s, early 2000s. It's like, it came out between like 2012 to present.
It's a Batman video game.
It's not the Arkham. Just do process of elimination here.
I can only think of 2 off the top of my head.
Which would be what?
The Dark Knight tie-in, and there was like a Batman the Animated Series video game.
No. So these didn't come out in that era. This is like this also had a trilogy.
Of movies or games?
Games. It had a trilogy of games.
And it was a Batman property that wasn't the Arkham series.
Not an Arkham series. It's a massive property.
Is it Injustice?
Give you one more hint. It's a Batman game.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
You got to get, bro. This is I'll give you a hint. This is a direct. What the game is, like the whole concept of the game, is a massive property. People collect everything.
And it was in 2012, and it's not the Arkham franchise?
In that, it's not the Arkham franchise. There was 3 of them, and then they did like a Villains game and a Justice League game.
Oh, is it like the Lego Batman games?
Yes, but which one is it? It's not the 3rd one, obviously. Which one got all that praise?
Was it Lego Batman 2?
Correct.
Okay.
Lego Batman 2. We had a close one this week.
We did. We had a very close one this week.
So what were my points?
15,000.
15,000? You mean 1,500?
Or 1,500, excuse me, yeah.
His were 1450.
Yeah.
So by 50, well, by one half point question.
He beat me by 1 half-point question of. It was the
trickster one.
The trickster and Captain Boomerang one. That was what saved you.
Half points will get you, man.
I
Half
know.
points will get you.
I
So.
know.
Yeah, that was wow. We thought you were having an off day too.
I
You
really
were a
did.
lot
I
closer
thought-
than you thought.
I guess so. Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, yeah, that'll do it. Go ahead and close this out, man.
Well, thank you so much for watching. We always enjoy doing these Family Feud segments. If you would, please hit that subscribe bell. We're just trying to build a community of nerds here where we can talk about the Trickster and Captain Boomerang. But yeah, if you enjoy what we do here, we usually post between Thursday evening and Friday morning of our podcast. If you like more of the short form content, we post on Instagram, TikTok. We do YouTube Shorts, all under Gotham Graffiti Podcast. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.